It was past midnight when I felt his weight shift beside me. The room was dark, the only light came from his phone screen. I was barely awake, groggy from the wine I had used to bury my guilt. But I heard it, a sound I will never forget. A sharp exhale. Like he had just been punched in the gut. Then the silence. The kind that does not feel like silence at all, it buzzes and stings. I sat up slowly, my heart already beginning to race, like it knew before I did. And then he spoke. His voice was not loud, not yet. It was low, strangled. Almost like he was speaking to himself. You were never going to tell me, were you? I blinked, and his phone was already in his hand, facing me. Open. Messages. My messages. The ones I thought I had deleted. Some screenshots. Some voice notes. Some photos. Not nude, but still damning. The kind of photos a wife never sends to anyone who is not her husband. I could not speak. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. My soul left my body in that moment. All I could do was watch his eyes, hollow and glistening, as the last of his trust in me disintegrated. Before we go deeper, I just want to pause and say thank you to all my returning viewers. Your support means everything. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. I appreciate every like, every comment, and every subscription. If you have not subscribed yet, I cannot wait for you to hit that button. It is what keeps this channel alive and breathing. And please, do not forget to share your thoughts in the comments below once the chapter ends. This story is for you. My name is Emily. I am 38 years old. I live in the suburbs of Raleigh, North Carolina. I am a mother of two, Ethan and Chloe, and until that night, I was married to a man most women would kill to have. Daniel is the kind of man who opens car doors, makes pancakes on Sunday, and remembers your mom's birthday even when you forget. He is not flashy or wild. He is dependable. Steady. Safe. Maybe too safe. Which is exactly what I told myself the night I met Jace at the gym. Jace was everything Daniel was not. He was loud. Confident. A little arrogant. He had tattoos down his arms and eyes that looked like they knew every dark corner inside me. Our first conversation was nothing special. Small talk. Representatives' gym playlists. But I felt something stir inside me, something I had buried for years. It started with harmless flirting. A message here. A comment there. Then came the night I stayed late after a class and found him alone in the locker room hallway. I should have walked past. I should have smiled and gone home to my family. Instead, I leaned on the wall and let him talk. He told me I had the kind of smile that made him forget the world. I let him kiss me that night. Just a kiss. But it was never just anything after that. The affair started slow. A few drinks. Long car rides. Stolen weekends when I claimed I was at book club. At first, I convinced myself it was not really cheating. That it was just a physical escape. A secret space I could slip into where I felt seen again. But Jace did not want to be a secret. He wanted more. And I gave it to him. Looking back now, I do not even recognize the woman I became. I was laughing in his arms while my husband was cooking dinner for our children. I was moaning another man's name while Daniel was texting me to pick up milk on my way home. I thought I had everything under control. I thought I was covering my tracks. But phones are never truly clean. Somewhere along the way, I forgot to delete something. A photo. A text. A voice note where I said things I had never even said to Daniel. The very worst part? I had stopped feeling guilty. Until that night. After Daniel found the messages, all hell broke loose. He did not scream right away. He stood up, phone still in his hand, and looked at me like I was a stranger. How long, Emily? I whispered, it did not mean anything. He laughed. The kind of laugh that carries pain in every breath. It never does, until it ruins everything. Then the screaming started. And the crying. From both of us. I tried to grab his hand. He pulled away like I had burned him. He walked out of the room, slammed the door so hard the pictures rattled on the walls. The kids woke up. I had to lie to them. Tell them Daddy had a bad dream. But my daughter, Chloe, just stared at me. Like she knew I was lying. I sat on the bathroom floor that night, shaking, sobbing into a towel to muffle the sound. I messaged Jace to delete everything. He did. But it was already too late. Daniel was a man who trusted me blindly. And I had spit on that trust. The next morning, Daniel did not come home. His phone was off. My texts went unanswered. The kids asked where he was, and I lied again. I told myself maybe it was just a phase. Maybe he needed to cool down. But deep down, I knew. I had shattered something that might never be put back together. And worst of all, I could not undo it. I could not unsend the messages. I could not unkiss Jace. I could not uncheat. All I could do was sit in the wreckage of what I had done, and wait for the consequences to finally finish falling. After the night Daniel found the messages, the silence between us became louder than any argument ever could have been. He did not come home for 3 days. 3 days of unanswered calls. 3 days of empty meals at the dining table with our kids. 3 days of pretending to be strong for Ethan and Chloe, when inside, I was crumbling into dust. I took off work. I could not bear to face anyone. Not the stares. Not the whispers. And certainly not the questions from anyone who might have caught wind of the wreckage I had caused. Daniel finally returned on a Thursday night, around 8:30 p.m. I heard the garage door. My heart leapt. Then dropped again. I stood up from the couch, barefoot, wearing the same t-shirt from the day before, waiting in the hallway like a child caught stealing. He walked past me without a word. His face was unreadable. Tired. Cold. My husband was gone, but his body was still here. He went straight to the guest room. And closed the door. You might be wondering how it even got that far. Why a woman like me, a wife, a mother, someone with a life that looked perfect on the outside, would risk everything for a man like Jace. Here is the truth. It started because I was lonely. Not the kind of lonely you feel when you are by yourself. The kind of lonely that aches even when someone is sleeping right next to you. The kind that settles into your bones after years of being needed but not seen. Daniel is a good man. A responsible man. But somewhere along the way, we became roommates raising children instead of lovers building a life. The last time he touched me like he wanted me, really wanted me, was over a year ago. Our kisses became pecks. Our talks became to-do lists. We loved each other, sure, but passion? That died long ago. Then Jace walked into my world. We met at the gym. He was a trainer. I was just another married woman trying to shed baby weight and reclaim a piece of my youth. He was charming, bold, unapologetic. He flirted openly. Said things Daniel had not said in years. You have no idea what your body does to me, he whispered once after a session, his eyes glued to my reflection in the mirror. I laughed it off. Until I didn't. The affair was not a planned thing. It grew slowly. From flirtation to confession. From confession to confessionals, in the back seat of his truck, in cheap motels, sometimes in the gym showers after hours. It was physical, yes. But also emotional. He asked about my dreams. He noticed when I wore lipstick. He made me feel alive again. But it came with a price. I was living 2 lives. With Jace, I felt desired. With Daniel, I felt safe. And somewhere in between, I became someone I never thought I could be, a liar. A cheater. A woman who could look her children in the eye and still walk out the door to sleep with another man. The days after Daniel moved into the guest room were agonizing. He barely looked at me. Said only what was necessary for the kids. He became robotic. And that hurt more than the yelling ever could. I tried to talk to him one night. I knocked on the guest room door, hands shaking. Can we talk? The door opened slowly. He stood there, disheveled, eyes red. He did not invite me in. He just stared. I know you hate me, I said, trying to hold my voice steady. But I need you to know that I am sorry. And I love you. He took a breath. I do not hate you, Emily. That would be easier. I just do not know who you are anymore. Then he closed the door. And I broke again. I leaned harder into Jace during those days. He wanted me. He said all the right things. Promised we could run away together if I wanted. But it was not that simple. I did not want to lose my family. I just wanted to feel something again. The guilt was starting to eat me alive. My kids sensed something. My son stopped asking me to read bedtime stories. My daughter told her teacher at school that Daddy does not sleep in the same room anymore. It was unraveling. All of it. And then came the twist. I was in the kitchen one afternoon, scrolling through photos of the kids on my phone, when I saw a notification pop up from a friend of mine, Rachel. She was one of my oldest girlfriends. Her message said, "You okay? I saw Daniel at lunch today. He was with a woman. They seemed close." I stared at the message for a long time. Something inside me twisted. Jealousy? Guilt? Fear? All I knew was that I had not earned the right to feel anything. But I felt it anyway. That night, I waited for him. He came home late. I sat on the living room couch, lights off, heart pounding. He walked in, saw me, and froze. "Where were you?" I asked. He shrugged. "Out." "Who with?" A pause. Then he walked past me again, into the kitchen. But I followed. "She is pretty, right?" I said bitterly. "Is she a good listener? Does she laugh at your jokes?" He turned around, his jaw clenched. "Do not do that, Emily." "Do what?" "You can sleep with someone else now? That is fair." He looked at me with a coldness I had never seen before. "I have not slept with anyone. But even if I had, would you really have a right to say a thing?" I opened my mouth. But I had no answer. Because he was right. Later that week, I saw Jace again. He wanted to meet. I drove to his apartment. But when I got there, something inside me felt off. He kissed me. Pulled me toward the bedroom. But I stopped. "I cannot do this anymore," I said, my voice shaking. He blinked. "You serious? I am destroying everything. My kids. My marriage. Myself." He scoffed. "So what, you run back to the guy who could not keep you happy in the first place?" "No. I run back to the life I never should have put in danger." I walked out. I did not cry until I was halfway home. But things at home did not magically get better. In fact, they got worse. Daniel still would not talk. The kids were confused. I was alone. One night, I was folding laundry when I found a note in his jeans pocket. It was written in a woman's handwriting. Neat. Smelled faintly of perfume. "I hope you are okay. I am here if you need someone to talk to. S." I had no idea who S was. But I knew then, I was not the only one whose heart had wandered. I had started the fire. But now, it was spreading. You never really understand the weight of a shattered home until you are the one sweeping up the pieces, barefoot, bleeding, and alone. A week after I ended things with Jace, Daniel still barely looked at me. He slept in the guest room. He cooked his own meals. He took the kids to school without telling me. We lived under the same roof, but he had emotionally moved out. The tension was unbearable. But I was determined not to give up. I texted him once, something small, something raw. I know I broke you. But please do not let this be the end of us. He never replied. Instead, the silence deepened. And with it, the dread. One morning, I was putting laundry in the machine when I felt something strange, like a pull in my stomach. I had been exhausted for days. Nauseous. Irritable. At first, I blamed the stress. The guilt. The heartbreak. But something did not feel right. I went to the drugstore and bought a test. Not because I suspected anything. Just to rule out the impossible. When the double line appeared, I dropped the test onto the bathroom counter and backed away like it had burned me. Pregnant. 2 months. And here is the worst part. I was not entirely sure who the father was. I could barely breathe. My hands trembled as I stared at my reflection in the mirror. This was not just infidelity anymore. This was a catastrophe. One I had birthed into being. One I would have to carry, literally. That evening, I waited until the kids were in bed. Then I knocked on Daniel's door. He opened it but did not let me in. I need to talk to you, I said, eyes heavy with fear. He folded his arms. I do not want to hear any more apologies. It is not that. A beat of silence. Then I forced the words out. I am pregnant. He blinked once. Is it mine? My soul cracked. I do not know. He let out a sound that was half a laugh, half a choke. I honestly do not know what else you could possibly do to me at this point. He stepped back and shut the door in my face. The next few days were a blur. I stayed in bed. I could barely eat. I had never felt so ashamed, so broken, so lost. Jace called once. I did not pick up. But then I called him back. Not because I wanted him, but because he deserved to know. He was quiet when I told him. Are you sure it is not your husband's? No. I am not. Do you want to keep it? I do not even know what I want anymore. He sighed. Look, if it is mine, I will be there. But if this is your way of crawling back to me, Emily, save it. You made your choice. He hung up. And just like that, the man I had ruined my marriage for was gone. A week later, Daniel asked me to meet him at the park. Just the two of us. I went, hopeful but terrified. We sat on a bench under an oak tree, away from the sound of children playing. I talked to my lawyer, he said. I froze. No, Emily, not for divorce. Yet. I turned to him, eyes wide. I do not know what I want either, he continued. But I owe it to our kids to try. To figure out if there is anything left worth saving. I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. But if that baby is not mine, he added, I do not think I can raise another man's child. I am being honest with you. I understand. He looked away. You have to get a paternity test. As soon as it is safe. I agreed. It was the most painful conversation I had ever had. But it was real. And that was something. We started therapy. Weekly. Painful. Raw. Some sessions ended with yelling. Others with silence. But some ended with tears in each other's arms. Daniel admitted he had been emotionally distant for years. That he stopped noticing me. That he buried himself in work and fatherhood because it felt safer than facing what we had become. I admitted I had betrayed him long before I touched Jace. With my resentment. With my lies. With the version of me that stopped trying. We were both guilty. Just, in different ways. The paternity test came 2 months later. I sat in the clinic parking lot for almost an hour before opening the envelope. It was Daniel's. I cried harder than I ever had before. Not because I wanted to keep him tied to me, but because somehow, in the ruins, something pure had survived. I drove straight home. He was outside, raking leaves. I walked up to him and handed him the envelope. He read it. Then looked at me. And for the first time in what felt like years, he pulled me into his arms. He held me like he was afraid to let go. And I held on like my life depended on it. Because it did. Do not get me wrong. It was not a fairy tale ending. We are still healing. There are still days when he wakes up quiet. Days when I catch him staring at me like he is trying to remember who I used to be. But he stayed. And I am rebuilding the trust one shattered, one day at a time. I told Jace I would never speak to him again. That chapter is closed. Completely. Sometimes I sit on the porch and watch Daniel mow the lawn, kids playing in the yard, and wonder how he ever found the strength to forgive me. But I do not take it for granted. Not anymore. I wake up every day choosing him. Choosing our family. Choosing the hard road. Because I already learned what happens